For more than 30 years in emergency medicine, one pattern kept appearing. Men who seemed strong in their early 60s often returned about a decade later with a clear loss of muscle strength. Muscle loss after 65 rarely happens suddenly. It develops slowly over many years. After 65, muscle tissue also becomes resistant to growth signals, a condition known as anabolic resistance. Protein no longer activates muscle repair as efficiently. Energy use in muscle cells declines and recovery slows. Because of this, simply eating more protein or exercising more is often not enough. Researchers tested more than 1,000 compounds that could be added to morning coffee. These included amino acids, plant extracts, fats, minerals, and adaptogens. Most had little effect, and some increased stress hormones. Only 5 compounds consistently supported biological pathways linked to muscle function after 65. This matters because aging muscle faces 3 main challenges: chronic inflammation, reduced blood flow and nutrient delivery, and anabolic resistance in muscle fibers. These factors make it harder for muscles to use protein, produce energy, and recover after activity. Number 5 is Ceylon cinnamon. After the age of 65, one of the main biological drivers of muscle loss is chronic low-grade inflammation, often called inflammaging. Persistent inflammatory signaling accelerates muscle tissue breakdown over time. Ceylon cinnamon ranks at number 5 because it helps reduce these inflammatory signals that contribute to muscle degradation. Ceylon cinnamon contains bioactive compounds such as cinnamaldehyde and proanthocyanidins. These compounds help inhibit inflammatory pathways and reduce oxidative stress in the body. By lowering oxidative stress and inflammatory signaling, they decrease the biochemical triggers that promote muscle tissue breakdown, helping stabilize the environment around muscle cells. Research published in the Journal of the International Society of Sports Nutrition, with work connected to the University of Georgia, reported that muscle soreness decreased by up to 25%, and oxidative stress markers were significantly reduced. These effects were observed when cinnamon was used consistently for about 8 weeks. In practice, the amount used is small. About 1/2 to 1 teaspoon of Ceylon cinnamon can be added to coffee grounds before brewing or stirred directly into hot coffee. It is important to distinguish Ceylon cinnamon from cassia cinnamon, since cassia contains higher levels of coumarin, which may place stress on the liver with long-term use. Ceylon cinnamon ranks number 5 because it targets the inflammatory environment that accelerates muscle breakdown after 65, establishing a biological foundation before moving to stronger mechanisms later in the list. Number 4 is raw cacao powder. After the age of 65, one of the major physiological changes affecting muscle health is reduced efficiency of blood circulation to muscle tissue. When circulation declines, muscles receive less oxygen and fewer nutrients, which directly affects their ability to repair and maintain strength. Raw cacao powder ranks in the number 4 position because it improves vascular function, allowing more oxygen and nutrients to reach muscle cells. Raw cacao is rich in flavonols, compounds known to improve endothelial function. These flavonols help increase the ability of blood vessels to dilate, which improves overall blood flow. As circulation improves, the delivery of oxygen and amino acids to muscle tissue becomes more efficient. Another important compound found in cacao is epicatechin. Epicatechin helps increase levels of follistatin while reducing myostatin. Myostatin is a protein that inhibits muscle growth, so lowering myostatin activity can support healthier muscle signaling pathways. Research published in the British Journal of Nutrition, with work connected to the University of California, Davis, reported that endothelial function improved by more than 30% in older adults. In addition to vascular effects, 1 tablespoon of cacao also provides approximately 25% of the daily magnesium requirement. Magnesium plays an essential role in muscle contraction and muscle relaxation, both of which are necessary for proper muscle function. In practical use, the recommended amount is 1 tablespoon of raw cacao powder stirred directly into coffee after brewing. It is important that the product used is raw cacao powder and not Dutch processed cocoa. Dutch processing can destroy up to 90% of the flavonols that provide the vascular benefits. This is why raw cacao appears at number 4 in the ranking, because it improves the delivery system that brings oxygen and nutrients to muscle tissue, strengthening the biological environment established by the previous step. Number 3 is MCT oil. It ranks in this position because it provides an efficient alternative fuel source for muscle cells. This becomes increasingly important after 65 as muscles become less efficient at using glucose for energy. The mechanism involves medium-chain triglycerides, or MCTs. Unlike many other fats, MCTs bypass complex digestive processes and travel directly to the liver. In the liver, they are rapidly converted into ketones. Ketones function as a fast and accessible energy source for muscle cells. By supplying this alternative fuel, the body reduces its need to break down muscle protein to generate energy. This helps protect muscle tissue from unnecessary protein loss. Research published in the Journal of Nutrition, associated with the University of Alberta, reported measurable results over a 12-week study period. In that study, muscle protein breakdown decreased by 17% when MCT oil was included as part of the daily intake. In practical use, the recommended approach is to begin with 1 teaspoon of MCT oil and gradually increase the amount to 1 tablespoon. Products containing C8, known as caprylic acid, and C10, known as capric acid, are typically preferred because these forms are efficiently converted into ketones. This is why MCT oil appears at number 3 in the ranking, because it directly supports muscle energy metabolism. It reduces the need for the body to use muscle protein as a fuel source. Number 2 is vitamin D3. Vitamin D deficiency is one of the most common nutritional deficiencies in people over the age of 65. It ranks in the number 2 position because vitamin D3 directly activates receptors located on muscle fibers, influencing how those muscles contract, recover, and maintain strength. Vitamin D functions through vitamin D receptors that exist on muscle cells. When vitamin D levels are insufficient, several physiological changes occur. Muscle contractions become weaker, recovery after physical activity slows down, and fast-twitch muscle fibers gradually decline. These fast-twitch fibers are particularly important for strength, balance, and rapid muscle response. Vitamin D is also a fat-soluble vitamin, which means its absorption improves when it is consumed alongside dietary fats. Within this system, the MCT oil introduced earlier supports vitamin D absorption by providing the fat environment necessary for efficient uptake. The data supporting this role is extensive. A meta-analysis published in Osteoporosis International analyzed 29 studies. It reported that between 50 and 70% of older adults are deficient in vitamin D. Research from the University of Zurich found that individuals with adequate vitamin D levels had a 40% lower fall risk. Additional research published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition showed that vitamin D3 is 87% more effective than vitamin D2 in raising and maintaining vitamin D levels in the body. In practical terms, the typical intake is 2 to 4 drops of vitamin D3, providing approximately 1,000 to 2,000 international units. The form used should be vitamin D3, also known as cholecalciferol. Vitamin D3 appears at number 2 in the ranking because it directly activates muscle cell receptors. It supports muscle function at the cellular level, building on the metabolic and circulation improvements created by the earlier steps. Number 1 is collagen peptides. Much of the muscle weakness that develops with age is not caused only by changes inside the muscle fibers themselves. A significant part of the decline involves the connective tissue framework that supports and stabilizes those fibers. As this structural network weakens, muscles lose efficiency, strength, and resilience. Collagen peptides rank at number 1 because they help support the rebuilding of this structural foundation that aging muscles depend on. Muscle tissue is supported by a connective network known as the extramuscular matrix. This matrix surrounds muscle fibers and helps transfer force, maintain structural integrity, and support muscle contraction. With age, this connective tissue gradually weakens and loses density. When that happens, muscle fibers no longer function within a strong structural environment. Collagen peptides provide specific amino acids that play a central role in rebuilding this system, particularly hydroxyproline and hydroxylysine. These amino acids stimulate collagen synthesis and help repair connective tissue within the muscle support structure. Collagen peptides also contain glycine and arginine. These amino acids contribute to increased nitric oxide production, which improves blood flow to muscle tissue. Better circulation allows nutrients and oxygen to reach muscle cells more efficiently. In addition, glycine and arginine support growth hormone, signaling pathways involved in muscle repair and recovery. These mechanisms allow collagen peptides to influence both the structural framework around muscle fibers and the physiological processes that support muscle maintenance. Evidence supporting this effect comes from research published in the British Journal of Nutrition and the journal Nutrients, with work conducted at the University of Freiburg. In a 12-week resistance training study involving older men diagnosed with sarcopenia, participants were divided into two groups. One group performed resistance training alone, while the second group combined resistance training with collagen peptide supplementation. After 12 weeks, the group using collagen peptides showed greater increases in lean muscle mass and greater reductions in body fat compared with the training-only group. In practical terms, the recommended intake is 10 to 15 grams of hydrolyzed collagen peptides mixed directly into hot coffee. Hydrolyzed collagen dissolves easily and is rapidly absorbed. Common sources include grass-fed bovine collagen or wild marine collagen. With a preference for products containing type 1 and type 3 collagen, collagen peptides appear at number 1 in the ranking because they address the structural framework that supports muscle tissue itself. The earlier compounds reduce inflammation, improve blood flow, supply alternative energy, and activate muscle receptors. Collagen peptides build on those mechanisms by strengthening the connective structure that allows muscle fibers to function effectively, making this the most comprehensive step in the sequence. The pattern is no longer difficult to see. After 75, the body does not simply need more protein or more supplements. What it needs is efficient, absorbable nutrition that works with aging biology instead of against it. The ranking we examined follows that exact logic. Foods that support absorption, metabolic efficiency, and cellular repair consistently outperform brute force protein intake. When digestion slows and muscle maintenance becomes harder, the foods that succeed are the ones the body can actually use. That is why the progression matters. Each food addressed a specific biological limitation, improving nutrient uptake and stabilizing metabolism while reducing inflammatory load, and supporting structural tissue maintenance in aging muscle. But the final position in the ranking stood apart for a reason. Lentils and legumes repeatedly appear in longevity research as one of the strongest predictors of survival in aging populations. Not because they are trendy or exotic, but because they deliver plant protein, fiber, and micronutrients efficiently, in a form that aging bodies process efficiently and consistently. The takeaway is straightforward. Instead of relying on powders, pills, or exaggerated protein targets, focus on foods that deliver usable nutrition, foods that support digestion, stabilize metabolism, and provide steady structural support for the body. When the goal is preserving strength, independence, and metabolic stability after 75, efficiency matters more than quantity. If you found this breakdown useful, subscribe to the channel for more evidence-based insights on nutrition and aging.